Hello, Dr. Vitanza and Dr. Cronchuti. I'm glad to have you as part of this call. I'm Keith Esserick. I'm with the Cure Starts Now and also the DIPG DMG Collaborative. And we wanted to take a little bit of an opportunity to talk a little bit about your grant and obviously talk to the membership that is looking to fund the Big Fat Grant Project. We call it BFG Project. So I don't know if we named it well or we named it poorly, but either way, it's catchy. So we like that. Um, Before we go ahead and really get started in this grant, I also wanted to inform you of something as well. Um, I don't know if you realize that. Obviously, we told you to come and join for this call, but we also wanted to tell you you've just won the BFG. So we have a check that is virtual that you see on the screen right now, and this is for your augmentation of the tumor immune microenvironment to enhance CAR T cell efficacy. So I figured it's very much the best way to be able to start these meetings is to share with you a check first before we get started with it. So it should take some of the pressure off at this point, I believe. Um,
That is way better than finding out when I check my junk mail and find out that I've gotten a grant awarded. So much better approach. Thank you.
Well, we're not princes, but we're certainly trying to give you some money to allow you to be able to advance this grant here as well. And I'd be remiss if I don't name out the partners that made this happen. Okay, the Cure Starts Now, Cure Starts Now Australia, the Choose Joy for Melina Foundation, the Brooke Healy Foundation, Cure Starts Now Canada, the Robert Connor Dawes Foundation, the Reflections of Grace Foundation, the Ayla Foundation, and the Yvonne Tuwari Foundation. And that's some of the partners that are here with us. And I know that they too wanted to share a bit of congratulations with you personally. So if you don't mind, I will go ahead and let Steve go ahead and kick us off.
Thank you. I want to congratulate you both doctors on your great work. I'm Steve Healy from the Brooke Healy Foundation. I'm also president of the DIPG DMG Collaborative, and my daughter was in the fight 12 years ago, and I've been on this journey since then. Today happens to be her birthday, but I'm going to pass it along to Jackie for other introductions.
Hello, Dr. Vitanza. My name is Jackie Criswell. I'm with The Cure Starts Now. This has been close to my heart since my niece passed away from DIPG 18 years ago, and now I work with them. But wonderful work on your research. We are proud to fund you 100%. So I'm going to hand it on over to Parvati. She can introduce herself.
Congratulations, Dr. Vitanza and Dr. Quinchuti. We are so honored to be able to support your work and thank you for everything you do. I'm Parvati. I'm with the Yvonne Tiwari Foundation, and I've been unfortunately in this space since my son UV passed away in 2021. And I will pass it on to Tamara.
Congratulations. We're really proud to be here. I'm Tamara Ekus. I am Vice President of the DIPG DMG Collaborative, and also our foundation is the Reflections of Grace Foundation. We have been with the collaborative since the beginning, and we are so proud to be able to get to this point where we are offering this huge grant to you for this incredible work that you are doing. So we are so proud. And I'd like to hand it off to Erin.
Hi, Dr. Vitanza and Dr. Konshuti. My name is Erin with Ayla Foundation. We have been in this space since 2022, which is when our daughter Ayla passed from DIPG. And so I want to offer you a very sincere and exciting congratulations on this grant. I'm going to pass it to Gina next.
Congratulations, Dr. Vitanza and Dr. Konshuti. I'm Gina Keller from Austin-based Hearts for MK, a chapter of the Cure Starts Now. We've been part of this effort since 2020, and our chapter is in honor of our daughter, Mary Catherine, who we lost to DIPG in 2018. Now I'd like to introduce Kelly.
Yes, congratulations to you both. I'm Kelly Hamilton with The Cure Starts Now. I've been a part of the organization for 3 years. That's when my daughter Parker passed away from pineoblastoma. I just wanted to personally thank you also for treating her. It means the world to us parents. And I'll pass it off to Kim.
Hi, and a huge congratulations. We're a big fan of your work, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to be offering you this grant as part of the collaborate. I represent the Robert Connor Dawes Foundation in Australia. We've been in this space for 14 years. My CEO's son, Robert, passed away from a brain tumour 15 years ago. So we're very invested and love the CAR T cell space. So best wishes with it and really excited to see what you do. I'd like to pass it off now to Melissa, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Fleming with the Cure Starts Now, the Austin Round Rock Team Rock chapter. Been raising money connected to this for the past 9 years since my son Brock had battled DIPG. So just want to offer y'all big congratulations. Thank you for continuing to fight on behalf of all of our kids. And I'd like to go ahead and pass it on to Michelle.
Hi, my name's Michelle, and I represent the North Texas chapter of the Cure Starts Now. And I just want to thank you guys for your dedication to this. That's a horrible monster, and keep up the good work. And I'm going to pass it on to Yuki.
Thank you. My name is Yuki. I'm representing a Japan chapter from Cure Starts Now. I lost my daughter 15 years ago. Her name is Malaika. I've been doing a Cure Starts Now almost 3 months now. And I want to quickly introduce my another members. Her name is Miki. Miki, would you like to say something in Japanese? Looks like no. So thank you. Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations from Japan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, Dr. Vitanza and Dr. Cranchuti, this is something that spans the entire world, and that's a good thing because it shows the support of a very wide network that comprises about 82 foundations and chapters coming together on this one. I told you that I needed to ask some questions though, and I really want to dig into that research a bit. And I guess the big question about this is number one, and I'll put them both together and then you guys can go ahead and go from there. But number one, this is not just a one institute type of grant, even though the check was going to say Seattle Children's Hospital. This is something that really covers also St. Jude Hospital and a lot of other preliminary work that you put together. And I guess that's one of my questions is if you can talk a little bit about that, because I think history is important with these projects because they just don't come out of nowhere. These have to be really built with strategy. The second question I have to do is really has to do with what you saw in existing CAR T. You obviously saw response from some of the patients, and then you saw very little response from others. And I think this grant hopefully answers that big question because I think there's that potential for CAR T, and I think everybody really, really believes it, but we just don't see it across the board. And what do you think that this is going to do to change that?
Idra, do you mind if I start?
Yes, absolutely. Start and I'll add.
First of all, thank you all so much. Your organization and just the introductions is amazing. But beyond that, thank you. I mean, to know that we are working on behalf of so many children and your children means a lot to us. It's hard to say that they're the inspiration because they're just much more than that. But I think that we know, I mean, seeing the side of it that patients walk through, holding their hand from the beginning to the end, I have some small understanding of what you've gone through and what you continue to go through and what that means when you trust somebody and trying to make a difference. So we really appreciate you putting your faith in us and we will work very hard for you and for your children. When I opened the first intracranial CAR T-cell trial about 6 years ago in the US, we wanted to just give the CAR T-cells without any chemotherapy before because we know that most chemotherapy you give in the blood doesn't get into the brain, right? That's one of the whole problems that we have. So why put kids through the toxicity of conditioning regimens or pre-CAR T-cell chemotherapy? Because normally kids with leukemia get that intentionally to wipe out their systemic immune system so the CAR T-cells can really get in their bone marrow and throughout their body, which is not at all what we're doing. So it's always been this thought that medicine before could help CAR T-cells last longer. it's clearly shown now that giving chemotherapy before intracranial CAR T cells doesn't make the CAR T cells last longer. They don't engraft the way they do in the blood. But we know that there's a lot of things in the brain that work against our CAR T cells. And we know that a lot of medications change the environment in your brain. And in your brain, you have immune cells that live in your brain and have always lived in your brain since you were born. We have immune cells that actually come from the bone marrow of your skull and go into your brain. And then we have a smaller amount of white blood cells from your blood that do get into the brain, and they all interact together. And so we, both St. Jude and our group, has primarily run CAR T cell trials without giving intensive chemotherapy before every single one of the doses. And in our case, we don't give it with any of the doses because we didn't want to put the kids through toxicity without understanding what a benefit was. To Keith's point, of the 28 kids that we've treated with DIPG on our trial, and we've treated other kids with other diseases, it's just the numbers are smaller and they all had such different histories. You know, kids like Parker are different than other kids with pineoblastoma that we enrolled and have gone through such different treatment. Kids with DIPG are sadly much more uniform when we enroll them. And of those kids, we now have 4 kids who are alive more than 4 years from their diagnosis. One of those kids has barely visible disease on his MRI. One girl has continued shrinking disease. 3 of those kids are still on trial. One of them just got his 97th intracranial dose of CAR T cells. I met him after his initial MRI when he was 2, and he's about to turn 7. So we know that it's helped some children, and we know from Stanford's trial, St. Jude's trial, other great trials that some children have benefited, but not all of them. So what we're trying to do here is Ghidra was part of a group that developed new models, animal models, where the animals have an immune system. I think some of you know another limitation we've had is that if you took a mouse off the street and put in a pediatric brain tumor, it would reject the tumor. So we have to use special mice that don't have an immune system, and then we put the brain tumor in and it can grow. But the whole thing with immunotherapy is you have to know how it works with an immune system. So now that we're over the hill of knowing we can make CAR T cells, we can give them in the brain of children, we can give them to mice with no immune system and they work great, we also have to admit that's not real life for children. And so we needed better models to take the next hurdle, and Ghidra has really pioneered this work, understanding if you take a special mouse that has a normal immune system and develops a DIPG or an ependymoma or another tumor, what do CAR T cells do in that setting? And they don't work as well. And that would sound like a disappointment, but that's actually great because that gives us an opportunity to learn so we can build better treatments for your children and for other children. And so why did we come about this together is that I've always had a big belief that the most important thing when you're doing this work is reliability of your partners, both for honesty and integrity of what they're doing and meeting milestones. And I would say that from the patient-facing side, I feel the urgency all the time. I have a kid in the hospital now who's probably going to pass away in the next few days that I'll spend my afternoon with that family. And you feel the urgency all the time. A lot of scientists with PhDs that aren't as patient-facing maybe don't feel that urgency. And I would say Ghidra feels that urgency and works quickly, works honestly, and is the type of partner I would want if my child was affected and somebody was working on this. The other thing is that it's really, really important to do something in one lab and see what another lab can do and make sure that it's the same. So you need a balance of not being redundant, but being able to just call somebody and being like, hey, we see this thing. Do you see this thing? We had this thing. We saw your paper where you didn't have this thing. Can we figure out why that's not working? And I will tell you, when you start those conversations, a lot of people hang up the phone. A lot of people don't want to get in the why did we get different results than you did game, because you can have papers retracted, you can have a reputation change. And Ghidra is a very open communicator in that way, so we can share information extremely openly. And then I think that we both have an eye towards patients. So St. Jude, obviously a leader in bringing patients there. I would say Seattle Children's historically not as much, but what we've tried to do with our CAR T cell trials is really make it a place where if you have a serious tumor and you need to talk to somebody on the phone, we can do that. If you need a place to go for treatment, we can do that. And we also have an underserved, underprivileged fund the same way that St. Jude does. Not as much money, unfortunately, but we have a similar program. And so I think that we align really well on these things. And so what the goal of this is to figure out not what is just some hand-me-down treatment that works for kids with leukemia. What is a specific chemotherapy for kids with brain tumors that changes CAR T cells in the brain so that when we write a trial for children and I'm writing those words on a paper, and I know in my head that's going to be 50 kids who get this, I feel like I am doing justice to them and not just absorbing a treatment for some other kids. And so that's what I hope we're doing here.
Well, I just add a little bit more. So before I start, I would like to thank everyone. I did not know what to expect from this meeting. I also texted Nick like, who's going to be there? What do I need to prepare for? I reread the grant. I prepared the notes because I was just not ready for all this. I give a lot of presentations, always very nervous, but I'm even more nervous right now because this is just beyond of what I expected to see. So thank you all for your support. Thank you, Nick, for your kind words. And I just want to add that all this project for both me and Nick was born out of frustration that we are not fast enough. We're not efficient enough. We're not good enough where we are. And we know that CAR T cells work great. And it's very straightforward, right? We have a target, we have a CAR T cell, and when CAR T cell recognizes the target, it kills. And it's as simple as that. But the moment you put in the brain in the environment that is highly protective of inflammation, because our brain is everything, right? There is any kind of damage to the brain, there is immediately the brain will go after and say, let's fix it because it will cause damage. The same happened with the CAR T cells. The moment they recognize the tumor, there's inflammation, and microenvironments say like let's kill this inflammation. There's a fire, and that's where our CAR T cells are failing. And that's why Nick said it. That's good that there's inflammation, tells that our CARs are working. So when I started studying microenvironment, I realized that small changes within CAR T cell signaling is already causing massive changes. And I felt we're so good at making CAR T cells, engineering them, yet to move to clinic, it takes forever, because the moment we're going to add something new to CAR T cells, it's going to be another 2 to 3 years making to the GMP, talking to FDA and whatnot. And it's like, but what about the methods that we have right now, chemotherapy and all that stuff? And Nick also was saying, like, I'm so frustrated because we have this all pre-treatments, but we don't know how it works. So, but I always say that when I present, we need to find a way how to synchronize brain tumor microenvironment with CAR T cells. And the way maybe we can do that is with the available chemotherapy and regimens that we have. Maybe we can sprinkle a little bit of that and then a little bit of CAR T cells and then again, and it has to be cyclic and all these kind of things, and hopefully it will work. And that's exactly what we're proposing here, again, out of frustration, because I think we can do better, move faster, and we have good cars and they really are working, and we believe it's going to work once we know and understand, once we synchronize with this highly protective nature of the brain, which again, it's good, it's really good, but now we have to fight against it. So that's all I wanted to add. And, I could not expect for a better partner like Nick, because we started talking about it at SNO. We like to call ourselves as a new generation of young and ambitious scientists, because we learn from the great leaders, and that we will be always forever grateful, and we continue talking to them. But we believe that we can bring some new ideas and also do fearless science.